Okay, now we are going to create the landscape inside Gaia. But this one isn't going to be a landscape as you know it. For example, we created an inside textured inside Unreal Engine. We are going to create it and use the color map on it and import it inside Unreal Engine and use the farther areas as a vista and replace the areas that are close to camera with nanite meshes to get the best out of the landscape quality, because right now Lumen, the Unreal Engine 5 lighting system, isn't picking up landscapes, and this is for the early access, but in the future they are going to fix it. So for now we are going to use this landscape as a blockout and import it inside Unreal Engine and use a basic coloring and replace the parts that are close to camera with nanite meshes. So I believe this is going to be enough for what we are going to create, but we are not going to make it a mountain. This is going to be an island. So let's select the mountain and bring it down using this post-process nodes that we have available here. For example, let's select the clamp and bring the max down just a bit and look at it after the erosion node, and this is fine. Basically anything will do for this particular island because it's not going to be something a lot more complex. So let's change the seed to see if there's something more interesting happening in here. And you see when I select the mountain, it removes the erosion that is happening here. And I don't want that. I want to always look at the mountain after the erosion. So let's select the erosion and hit pin or simply hit F. So no matter what node you select, you're always going to view this erosion in this mountain after being eroded. So this is good, I believe, for an island. Let me watch it from all sides. And let's change the seed to see if there's something happening that we like. Yeah, this one is better. I don't want to have sharp mountains in here. And this one, you should have in mind that if you are tight on resources, you want to put the preview on 0.5. And especially now that I'm recording, I set it to 0.5 to save on performance. And remember to save quite often. So now that we have the basic island going on, we can continue and go ahead. And there's of course a node called, if you hit tab and call for island, there's an island node that can help us create an island effect also. So let's put it in here and wait for the calculations to be done. And now we are seeing nothing because we need to paint something in here. We need to paint a mask to reveal from the island. So let's select this and hit edit island. And in here now we can paint and mask the parts that we want to reveal from this mountain. So let it calculate for a bit. And now we can start painting. So let's start. And this mask that we have painted is going to reveal from the mountain, and it's going to act as a mask. So let's paint more. And it's going to create an island effect for us, and it's going to be very effective and very fun to play. But for now, I think we really do not need to use this, so I'm going to delete it. But by the way, it's here to be used. If you like the effect, you can go on and play with it. But again, overall, I feel like the height of the mountain is too much, so let's select the mountain and bring the clamp down and look at it after the erosion has happened. And let's bring the scale a bit up No, this is absolutely not what I'm looking for. So let's go back. Instead, let's do it in the erosion node. So rock softness, make the rocks soft. And I can simply disable this 2D view because I really do not need it. So let's put the strength up a bit, and you need to apply the changes. And if you want to do the changes on the fly, because the erosion node is a heavy one and it expects you to apply the changes every time you change something because it's heavy relative than other nodes. So we need to hit this lock button so that every time we change something we see it in real time, but it's going to be performance heavy a bit. So this is good when I'm looking at it, and this is going to be a basic Pirates Island that we're going to create. So let's look at it and see if there's any change to be done. But for now, I'm a bit happy with this. So let's bring this one out. And there's a node, and it's called the coast node. And now we are seeing the erosion node because it has been pinned. So let's select this and pin this, or even let's select this one without anything and start to see the changes from here to here. So looks like we need to change the water level and bring it to somewhere that it starts to erode that beach effect for us. And let's save this. So the water level is too high, let's bring it down. Okay, we want to affect this area to be the water level and keep this area as a beach. But we need to change some things a bit more. So let's see, we want to reveal a lot from this. Let's bring this down and let's see the transition and bring this transition up also. So we have the island area in here and a beach and this area that is eroded by water. So let's add a water, and that water is going to be here in the form of the lake. And hit F to visualize this only. And now we are seeing the beach that we wanted to create. So there are some things to be changed in this water level. Let's bring it down even more. Okay, you see the transition in here. These areas are higher than the water level, and this is the beach that we wanted. So let's make this beach size a bit more. No, not this one. Overall, this is really what we are aiming for, to create an island and to create a beach, and of course creating the water level. And here is perfect for adding a coast or something that we want to create. So we have created something like this, and now let's do something a lot more beautiful than what this is already. So we have the mountain primitive in here, and we can try to mix some things together. So let's add a mixer, and we want to put this one in here and copy the same mountain node in here. So let's select it, and of course we want to select this one and unpin it so that we every time we select a node we are able to visualize that no matter what nodes are. So this is the mountain that we are seeing, but we are only going to reveal some parts of it. So let's change the seed to something a bit different. We don't want it to be the same thing. So, okay. And now we want to reveal only some parts of this. We could either go and use the island node or we can use mask. So first let's bring the island node to see if there's something that we like about it. So let's select this one in here and start to reveal a little bit of that island. So select this and edit island, and now we can paint some parts, and it goes through the mountain node. Let's give it a little bit of time to calculate, and let's hit erode. Bring the erosion node and make the erosion a lot more aggressive than it needs to be. So something like this, and bring the mountain. Let's hit F on this so that we are only visualizing this, and bring the mountain let's bring it up a bit or bring down, and the erosion is of course too strong. Okay, now let's say that we are happy about this, or we can leave the erosion to be on this part. So let's first try to connect this in here and visualize this node. Try to pin it and fit this one into erosion instead of that. So we need a mask to separate it. This island is a mask, and we want to put this one into the mask. And it's not working because Mixer, I believe, isn't too good for this kind of thing that we want to do. Instead, let's use the combine node. And this combine is perfect for adding mountains and things together. So let's combine these and let's see if this works as a mask. And let's fit this into the erosion. So this is doing all right. And let's delete this erosion because we do not need it. Or let's leave it in case we want to use it in future. So this is not the effect that we want. We want to make this island, this mountain, to be used as an offset island that goes, for example, in here. You see the islands being separated together, a part of the island being in here, and a part being offset up to here. We want to create that. So there's a node called transform, and it helps us to transform this and bring it to this part, for example, and bring it out of this island. So let's take this and start to visualize it, and we want to bring it somewhere around here and fit it in here, and start to visualize this only. So we do not want the mask. Let's delete this connection and bring this and make it add so that we are using both of them together. So let's go to transform and start to offset this and bring it somewhere else. For example, something like this to create an offset island that goes to somewhere else. Okay, and now let's see and visualize that after the lake has been applied. First, let's save it and start to visualize this only. And looks like we are getting a bug in here because of the erosion node. So let's save the project and close it and open it again to see if the bug solved or not. So it was a bug. I had to do the whole node chain again. So it happens sometimes. It's a relatively new software and it's in production, so accept some minor bugs if they happen. And now instead of this mountain, let's fit this combined node into the erosion and wait for the calculations to be done. And this is the effect that we are getting: coast node and the lake node. Now you see this offset being happening in here, but we don't want that to be so powerful. So let's take this transformation node, which is the last one in this chain, and bring it through erosion node. And of course, we need to make the erosion a little bit too strong and fit it into the combined node. And make this one as pinned. And now visualize this. So this is a small little island that we have created. And you can repeat the same process and get as many islands as you want. So now we are going to give this a little bit of primitive texturing. So for the texturing, we are going to use a node called texture, and you can choose this right away from here, or even hitting tab and selecting the texture. So we put this in here and it creates a noisy texture based on the data that we have here. And you can do all sorts of things in it, offsetting the texture or creating the slopes and things like that. So this is good, and this texture is a little bit raw, so we are going to give this a real color. So drag a node out and we're going to select the sat map. So the sat maps are data and colors extracted from satellite data that they have scanned, and they're really perfect for adding colors to the mix. So I feel like I'm good with this color. We can reverse it also. So let's take this or select something else. It takes a little bit of experimentation to see what works and what not, but it's overall the process is going through all of them and start to select what you want. So I'm gonna create something that has this shade towards the gray. So let's say that I'm happy with this. So let's select something else. So I found this 23 to be working perfect. And let's try the reverse. And this could be a great when it comes to texturing. We have these peak parts and we have these areas that are grassy. But I want these areas of erosion to be pronounced a bit. So we come in here and select this. We are free to use which of these that we want. So let's select the 2D node and bring this one out. Bring an auto level node, and it needs the data. So we are giving the data and visualize it here. So this is the black and white mask. Let's see which one is better. Okay, this one is better for the thing that I want to do. So let's select this and copy this. And we want to select this sat map. And you see that the preview is a little bit flat because it needs to have a height map as underlay. So let's select the last chain of nodes in the height map section, which is this lake, and hit pin as underlay. So it's always going to stay underlay what we are going to create. Okay. And now instead of this lake in here, I'm going to put this as the mask instead. So this is the outer level, this is the texture, and this is the stat map that we're getting from that. So I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. So let's select something like this and try to mix these together. So let's add a mixer node, and in here, and bring the ratio all the way up and put this auto level as the mask. And to make the effect stronger, let's visualize this and go to auto level. If you hit the apply raise, it's going to increase the effect and make it a stronger bit. So let's wait for the calculations to be done. Now this is the effect that we're getting. And now for the color, let's go and select something better. But of course, it's obvious that we do not want this to be so sharp and strong. Let's first select the color, something like this. I'm looking for the color that reads well with the thing that we have here. Or we can choose from other presets. For example, select a sandy one instead of selecting a rock. So let's say that we are happy with this and come in here and deselect this. And now the effect is a little bit more subtler and I'm happy with this. So let's go and add some things more to make it a little bit more beautiful. Okay, this is about it, but in these areas that are close to sea, I'm going to add some beach areas. So let's come in here and select this coast and start to drag a texture node from it. And we want to make these areas that are closer to lake as the beach areas. So let's select the soil and bring it down. Of course, we need to apply this lock so that the changes become in real time. So the slope down also. Bring the scale up. Slope down again also. Not so much. Let's bring it up. And this is the effect that we want, but reversed. So let's add an invert node to invert it. Now we have selected these areas. So let's give it a sat map and select a sandy color. Let's go in the sandy category and start to pick something that is closer to beach. Okay, looks like this is it. And again in here, we want a mixer node and we want to mix it here and bring the opacity all the way to up and apply the mask in that part. Okay, and now this is a lot more towards like it. And of course, we can derive some masks from here if we bring an auto level node. And we can use this lake node that has some masks. You see, this is the sea. Of course, we're going to be using it later on. And this one is the depth. It's the depth of the sea. And this one is going to be the shore. So first, let's use the depth and put it through the outer level. Of course, depth, not lake. Okay, this one is great. And this is a black and white data that we can use. So give it a texture. And we want to give it the blue shade because it's going to be the water. So let's use sat maps and choose blue. And again in here, bring a mixer out and plug it in here and use the outer level as the mask to separate these from each other. So this light blue means that the water is not so deep in these areas, which is really what happens in nature. So let's select this. I'm going to select another blue color that reads with this better. So something like this would do. Of course, instead of the depth, let's use the lake itself in the outer level to see what happens. Okay, this is more like it. These areas are the areas that the water is not so deep and then goes into the deep water. So let's reverse it. And yeah, this is a lot better. And we have these beach areas, the areas that go to top, which are grassy, and then the mountain peaks that we have here. And I feel like we are reaching the end. So let's see what we can do about it to create a little bit of more depth into this. So let's bring another outer level and use this shores. And unpin this so that we are able to visualize this. We want to give these areas another shade of blue color. So let's select these two. Texture. Of course, we do not want this to be so intense. So again, copy the sat map. And select a light color instead of that. And again, mixer, plug this, bring the opacity all the way up and auto level into that. Okay, you see that in these areas which are closer to water, we are seeing lighter blue, and the more it goes deep into the horizon, it becomes deeper. So totally, I feel like this is good. And because this is going to be only a primitive landscape, we are not going to do any more adjustments to it. And by the way, this lake is going to be later on replaced with the water shader that we are going to create inside Unreal, but this is going to be something as a blockout to test the colors in earlier stages. So totally, I'm happy with this, and I'm going to export this later on. And if you want to, you can also start to add different islands here and there, and that is your personal preference if you like it. But for now, I'm happy with this, and I'm going to export this data and import it inside Unreal. And you should have in mind that we are bound to use the 1K only, because if we start to export 2K, it's going to give us some errors in here, because this is a free one, and if you want to export more than 1K, you should buy the license. But this one is going to be good for our purposes, so we're going to export this. So in this mixer, let's drag something out and bring an output node. And in here, we want to select the path, and this is good. Select the folder. Now we have the path, and for the format, let's make it PNG. And also in here, let's find the lake, which is the last one in the height node, and drag an output out from it. And this is going to be our landscape. So again, give this a path and select it as raw, because if you want to import it as a landscape using the landscape editor, you're going to export it as raw. So we have a couple of output nodes, and now we can go to build, and first let's rename these. Right click on it and hit rename, and call this one landscape, excuse me, landscape, and this one as the color map. Okay, and now we need to come in here, and in the build folder, I'm going to choose the same folder that we selected for these, because I want all my data to be in the same folder. So let's select and go to the same folder and hit a start build. And now it's going to do the calculations and output what we have created so far. So it's going to come from all the way from the beginning and building to give us the outputs. It's calculating from the beginning to the end. So the calculations are going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to pause the video and come back to you when the calculations are done. So now the calculations are done, and this is the build folder that we have. We have this color map that is exported as PNG. It's perfect. I'm happy with it. And then we have the landscape, which is raw. And now it's time to open the Unreal Engine and start to import this into Unreal. Okay, see you there.